0.05 of a second. That is the smallest margin ever recorded in an Olympic sprint final. Here are the 6 wildest comeback wins 100 meters and 200 meters history has ever produced. Number 6 on our list takes us to London. Gabby Thomas, London Diamond League 2024. 1 week before the Paris Olympics, Thomas lined up in the 200 meters against a stacked field. Julianne Alfred and Dina Asher-Smith were 2 of the biggest names in the sport, and both came out of the blocks fast. Asher-Smith attacked the curve like she owned it, and the home crowd roared her name. By the time the runners hit the final bend, Thomas was stuck in 5th place. On a normal day, 5th place at that point means the race is already decided. But Thomas had 1 gear left that nobody else in that field had. As the runners entered the last 40 meters, she began closing the gap. Step by step, she passed Asher-Smith, who was fading fast after that hot start. Then she caught Alfred, who had briefly grabbed the lead into the home straight. In the final 10 meters, Thomas surged into first and crossed the line as the winner, setting a new meet record in the process. Fans watching live could not believe what they had just seen. A runner buried in 5th place with 50 meters to go should not win that race. 1 week later, Thomas used that same explosive closing speed to win Olympic gold in the very same stadium. This race in London was the warning sign nobody else caught in time. Number 5 brings us to Tokyo, and a runner who was tired of finishing just short. Oblique Seville, World Championships, Tokyo 2025. Seville had a painful pattern that followed him for years. 3 seasons in a row, he entered the world's biggest 100 meters races as a favorite, and 3 seasons in a row, he walked away without gold. 4th place at the 2022 World Championships. 4th place again in 2023, even after running the fastest time of any man that year. Then the lowest point of all, finishing dead last in the Olympic final of 2024, a race he was expected to medal in. In Tokyo, the pattern looked ready to repeat itself one more time. Sha'Carri Thompson, his own countryman and training rival, shot out of the blocks fast and built a clear lead through the middle of the race. Seville trailed behind him, chasing hard but still not close enough with the finish line coming up fast. Then, in the final 15 meters, something changed. Seville's stride opened up, longer and more powerful with every step. He closed the gap Thompson had built inch by inch and dipped across the line first in 9.77 seconds. After 3 years of heartbreak on the biggest stages in the sport, Jamaica had a new world champion, and Usain Bolt, watching from the stands, saw his country return to the top of the event he once ruled for a decade. Number 4 takes us to Budapest, where a 200-meter specialist finally chased down his biggest rival, Noah Lyles, World Championships, Budapest 2023. Lyles had built his entire career on the 200 meters, winning world titles and running times close to Usain Bolt's records. The 100 meters was always the race he wanted, but never fully owned. In Budapest, he decided that was going to change. The field was one of the fastest ever assembled, packed with former world champions. Christian Coleman, the 2019 world champion known for his lightning start, exploded off the blocks and grabbed an early lead. By the halfway mark, Coleman had a lead of more than a meter over the entire chasing pack, including Lyles. Most sprinters cannot close a gap that large with only 50 meters left to run. Lyles did exactly that. He accelerated hard through the second half of the race while Coleman began to tighten up and lose his rhythm. With 20 meters left, Lyles caught him, then pulled ahead. He crossed the line first in a lifetime best 9.83 seconds, finally claiming the 100-meter title that had eluded him for so many years of his career. Number 3 stays in Budapest. For a race that turned a comeback story into gold, Sha'Carri Richardson, World Championships Budapest 2023. Richardson's Olympic dream had collapsed 2 years earlier after a suspension kept her out of the Tokyo Games, right after she had won the 100 meters at the Olympic trials. Budapest was her chance to prove she was still the best in the world, but her semifinal round gave no hints of what was coming. She ran from behind and barely qualified for the final at all. In the final, drawn in lane 9, the outside lane where a runner can barely see the rest of the field, Richardson got a slow start out of the blocks. Through the first 60 meters, she was buried in last place. Shelly Ann Fraser-Price and Shericka Jackson, 2 of the fastest women ever to run the event, were both ahead of her and pulling away. Then Richardson's top-end speed kicked in like a switch had been flipped. In the final 40 meters, she flew past runner after runner, closing distance nobody thought was possible from that far back. She crossed the line first in 10.65 seconds, the fastest time by a woman at a World Championship final in years. She threw a kiss to the sky, stunned by her own comeback. Number 2 takes us back to Beijing, for a rivalry the entire world was watching. Usain Bolt versus Justin Gatlin, World Championships Beijing 2015. This race was billed as a battle between two very different stories. Bolt was the clean, beloved champion, adored by fans all over the world. Gatlin had returned from multiple doping bans and had not lost a single race in 2 years heading into that final. Many fans feared Gatlin would win and damage the reputation of the entire sport. Gatlin started almost perfectly. He built a clear lead through the middle of the race, running with a kind of control and power that made him look completely unbeatable. Bolt trailed behind him for nearly the entire 100 meters, something that almost never happened during his career, and the stadium grew tense with every stride. With 10 meters left to run, Gatlin's form began to break down under the pressure. Bolt, sensing the gap finally closing, drove forward with everything he had left in his legs. At the very last stride, Bolt leaned his chest across the line just ahead of Gatlin. The final margin was 100th of a second. It remains one of the closest and most emotional finishes the sport of track and field has ever produced. Number 1 is the race that had 80,000 people holding their breath in Paris. Noah Lyles, Paris Olympics, 2024. This was the deepest 100 meters final in history. 8 men lined up on that track, and every single one of them had a real, legitimate shot at gold. Usain Thompson, Jamaica's rising star and Olympic debutant, exploded off the blocks and built an early lead over the rest of the field. By 80 meters, Lyles was buried in 5th place, with less than 15 meters left on the clock to fix it. Most sprinters cannot make up that kind of ground that late in a race, especially against a field this fast. Lyles did something that looked almost impossible from the stands. His stride lengthened, his speed peaked at the exact moment. Everyone else around him began to fade, and he came flying through the field in the final 10 meters like he had an extra gear nobody else had access to. At the line, nobody could tell who had actually won. Lyles and Thompson both crossed in 9.79 seconds, and even the athletes themselves did not know the result. The smallest possible margin in the sport. He ripped off his name tag in celebration, still not fully believing what had just happened. It is now considered the greatest comeback finish in Olympic sprinting history, 6 races. 6 athletes who refused to accept where they were standing with the finish line right in front of them. Every one of them proved the exact same thing. In sprinting, the runner in front is never truly safe until the line is actually crossed, no matter how big the lead looks on camera or how far back the trailing runner appears to be. A race can flip in the blink of an eye, and the athletes who understand that are the ones who end up in the history books forever. Shocked you the most? Tell us in the comments below, and subscribe for more of the greatest moments in sports history.